So about that new Scream, I will be. I'm going to be perfectly blunt in saying that up until a few months ago, I had never seen a Scream movie in my life. Uh, Outside of Halloween and the original Texas Chainsaw, and if you want to throw Hitchcock's Psycho into that mix, and the original Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm generally speaking not a fan of slashers. I don't mind them, but most of them seem to just follow a specific pattern, and for me, you gotta give me more than tits and blood to get my attention, because I'm not 13 years old anymore.
Amen. I've been watching these movies since I was 8, bro.
But Scream, like I said, I only just recently started watching these movies because I was really drawn to the whole, not so much the meta horror, because I'm not a big fan of movies being really meta and self-aware. Usually it just comes off as the writer and the director jerking themselves off about how clever they think they are, but in Wes Craven's case, I thought he made a very solid series of slasher whodunits, and Scream, even though Scream 5 we're going to be calling it, because fuck this trend of making sequels and not putting the damn and just naming them after the fucking original. Fuck you. I love Halloween 2018, but fuck that fucking title.
The recent Candyman did the same thing.
Fucking what the shit. Yeah, because that worked out so well for The Thing prequel from 2011, right?
Everyone thought that was a remake.
Yeah, dude, I was a movie theater usher when Halloween 2018 came out, and the sheer volume of people who had to have it explained to them that it was a sequel and not a fucking reboot.
I mean, technically it is a soft reboot, but...
Yeah, not a
full-on reboot.
Yeah, which, Rob Zombie can suck my dick. But moving on. Scream 5. I was initially weirded out by number one, just the fact that we were actually going to move forward with a Scream sequel. Them naming it, well, it was initially sold as a reboot, if I remember correctly, and I believe when I saw the first trailers for it had popped up. I hadn't watched the trailers yet. I assumed, like everybody else, it was going to be a reboot, but then Dewey looking rough as shit, and in the trailer it was like, oh, so it's not. It's Scream 5. Just fucking call it Scream 5. Anyway, I wasn't sure how they were going to handle the... It was like when Bad Boys for Life came out a couple years ago. I wasn't totally sure how the guys doing that film were going to keep Bad Boys going with Michael Bay out of the director's seat. And then we have this, where I wasn't totally sure how they were going to keep it going with Wes Craven out of the director's seat. This movie's from Matt Bettinelli Olpin and Tyler Gillette. I'm totally sorry if I butchered those names. The same dynamic duo behind 2014's Devil's Due and 2019's Ready or Not. Neither of which I've seen, but I've heard of.
Ready or Not's not a bad movie. I've seen it. I also watched the kill count for it on the Dead Meat channel.
Oh, which we have to bring up Dead Meat later on in this video, because it was, I would say Olpin and Gillette certainly David Gordon Greened the hell out of this without turning it into without completely scrubbing everything beyond the first movie from canon, which I can appreciate that, because I'm kind of tired of sequels that ignore everything but the original. I mean, Halloween 2018 is great, and I understand Ghostbusters Afterlife has done pretty well. I haven't seen it because I never have been a Ghostbusters fan, frankly.
Yeah, did I tell you yet how about a month ago I said I haven't seen the 2016 one yet, and apparently that makes me a quote-unquote misogynist pig?
Well, apparently that's two misogynist pigs on this video. Because I
Yeah.
hadn't seen the 2016 one either.
Fucking liberals, man.
Liberals, I hate them so much.
But no, this new Scream, it's kind of the best of both worlds when you come to a sequel and a soft reboot type of, where it's like you bring back the fan favorite characters, you bring back the everything that people love about the originals, but then you bring in this cast of new people that are supposed to help carry the franchise, and they've got to earn their place, unlike certain characters from Star Wars.
Yeah.
But that's
Are you talking
another.
about-
But I've already talked about. My buddy Dom and I have already dumped on the sequel trilogy.
Oh yeah, those were. Well, they're so bad. I love them, but they're still bad. Remember the pandemonium that was the Last Jedi reception? Oh god, the internet was a war zone.
I think somebody in one of their own indie films a couple years ago said if you want to see how the world really is, voice your opinions of The Last Jedi on Twitter.
or Tumblr or Facebook, but
Or literally anywhere else. So, we have a new cast of characters that are being stalked by Ghostface. We have our returning fan favorites, of course, Neve Campbell, who looks like she hasn't aged very much since Scream 4. She's aging like wine.
well, it's Neve Campbell, of course.
We have David Arquette, who coming back as my favorite Scream character, Dewey,
Yeah,
and definitely looking like he's seen better days. And Courtney Cox coming back as Gail Weathers, and I don't know what's going on with Courtney Cox's face, but she needs to fire her plastic surgeon because she looks like Steven Tyler in a wig.
oh god, I thought the same thing. Good job.
Her fucking lips, man! She looks like that guy from fucking Hocus Pocus who had his mouth stitched shut.
oh god.
So they're back, along with Roger L. Jackson as the voice of Ghostface. A very welcome return from Roger Jackson.
Oh yeah.
And can we just appreciate the fact that the killer in these movies actually does have a voice? Like, I love Halloween as much as anybody, but and of course the silent killer thing really works well for Michael Myers, but fucking if you can give your killer a voice and really give them a personality, like Freddy Krueger is a great example of this, which oddly enough we're talking two slasher movie icons created by Wes Craven. You give Freddy, Freddy has his own distinctive voice, his own style, and then you have Ghostface who has his own voice, his own style, and both are very interesting characters to follow. Except, I think one of the things that's always drawn me to Ghostface, that's really been drawing me to Ghostface since I started watching these movies, is that, there's only one Freddy. There's only one Leatherface, one Jason, one Michael, but Ghostface could be literally anyone.
Yeah, that level of paranoia and how it can actually go from being a straight horror movie just to some sort of like fucking psychological thriller.
Yeah, like a really crazy psychological whodunit, and I'm a sucker for whodunits, so of course that's gonna attract me to the character.
Yeah, I just find those movies fucking amazing.
I think the Scream movies, I think the Scream series has perhaps the most consistent those movies are probably the most consistent in terms of quality, even when they're not the best. Like Scream 3, arguably the weakest of the franchise. Even it still has its fair share of good scares and solid moments.
I'm sorry, but Scream 3 wasn't even scary at all.
Not really. Sometimes it felt more in the vein of like horror camp, like Evil Dead 2, where it was like more. It was like 60% comedy, 40% horror.
I mean, it did come out in the wake of Bride of Chucky, which came out 2 years before, and that made the character go. That was the downward spiral that made Chucky go from a horror icon to a straight comedy horror icon.
I've never been able to take Chucky seriously, tell you the truth. It's a fucking doll!
The 2019 remake didn't help any either.
Well, everybody watched that movie expecting Mark Hamill to just play Chucky like he plays the Joker. And
I would have made it better a little bit.
And I think that contributed to why a lot of people don't like it. I saw somebody put it on their like worst of 2019 list, and I'm like, you know what? It may not be. It probably isn't the best of that franchise if you're a fan of Child's Play, but I can think of a few worse movies that came out in 2019. I'm not going to list them off now.
Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, yeah, that definitely deserves a place. I still maintain that movie's worse than The Last Jedi, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise. I would say I was kind of surprised to see Skeet Ulrich appearing throughout the movie. Okay, so the main character of this movie is a girl named Samantha Carpenter, who's played by Melissa Barrera. Very nice, obvious homage to a certain iconic horror director in her last name.
Yeah.
Who, as it turns out, major spoiler alerts ahead, so if you haven't seen Scream 5 yet, shut the video off, go see it, then come back, and if you still complain about, if you haven't watched it, you're going to keep watching this video and complain about spoilers,
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
But Samantha Carpenter is the illegitimate daughter of none other than Billy Loomis. One of the killers from Scream 1. And they brought back Skeet Ulrich to play Billy because she is hallucinating him. She has visions of him throughout the movie. Hair all jacked up, his bloody shirt, as he was at the end of the first movie. Dude does not look like he has aged a day since 1996. They just brought in Skeet Ulrich and used CG to make him look younger.
Yeah.
We also have Mary Shelton from Scream 4 coming back as Judy Hicks, who's apparently now the sheriff of Woodsboro, California, with her billboard-sized forehead.
I dig girls with foreheads bigger.
And now my dog wants to raise a fuss.
Hey, I live with 3 huskies. Trust me, I get it.
Yeah. I swear you could rent out advertising space on Marley Shelton's forehead. Much like is common for a lot of soft reboots, belated sequels, this movie essentially takes the Scream movies are always poking at common tropes in horror cinema. You know, the first movie was satirizing slashers in general and subverting a lot of really common slasher tropes at the time. Scream 2, of course, was making fun of sequels, and then Scream 3 was poking fun at, horror trilogies. Scream 4 poking at remakes, and now this one is doing belated sequels or soft reboots, or as they refer to them in the movie, requels, which I've never heard the term requel until I saw Scream 5.
I heard it 3 years ago when I watched the kill count video for the 2013 Evil Dead movie. They referred to that as both a remake and a sequel, requel.
Yeah, because it was intended to be like that movie was supposed to lead into a crossover with Ash Williams' Evil Dead universe, which, as you can tell by the post-credit scene of Bruce Campbell dropping a groovy. Much to my amazement, this movie was not as, like, I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. Like, in terms of ranking the Scream series, I would easily put this... it ties with Scream 2 for my favorite of the series.
Well, despite coming out a year after the original, Scream 2 is actually a better sequel.
Yeah, it's way better than most horror sequels and most sequels in general.
Like, remember the 80s when the Friday the 13th franchise was literally just a yearly sequel machine? But those films were worse and worse and worse.
Which wouldn't have been so bad if Jason Voorhees wasn't like what happens when you order Michael Myers from Wish.com.
Yeah, you said before he was a bargain bin Michael Myers.
He is! You might as well just buy your... That's what happens when you buy slasher films from the Dollar Tree. Jason Voorhees.
Well, if you think about it, those movies like that wouldn't exist if it weren't for... Well, the correct answer would be either Psycho or the original Black Christmas, but Halloween was the one who brought the genre into the mainstream.
Yeah. Yeah, and led to a whole onslaught of mediocre to just plain shit knockoffs.
Don't get me started on knockoffs.
Oh, the only knockoff I want to watch is a movie from '97 with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Rob Schneider.
I don't know who's more.
I will admit I wasn't totally feeling all of the new characters. But I mean, the thing about slasher movies is you're gonna have your like like 2 or maybe 3 likable, relatable characters, and then a handful of just shit heels.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was feeling Sam. I really liked her character. I kind of liked her boyfriend Richie, who, by the way, was played by Jack Quaid, who is the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan.
Yep.
I kind of liked his character. Other than them, I wasn't really feeling a whole lot of the other new people. I didn't even realize this, but I guess some previous actors from the other Scream movies have cameos. Like, throughout the Scream series, of course, they have their own series of slasher movies that are loosely based around that started off as being loosely based around the events of the first and second and eventually third movie, the Stab franchise. There's a clip from Stab 8, and I wasn't aware of this, but I'm looking at the IMDb trivia thing. Apparently, the footage from Stab 8 they used, Ghostface, is being played by Matthew Lillard, who was one of the other killers. Who was the other killer besides Billy Loomis in Scream 1? Apparently, Drew Barrymore had a vocal cameo in this new one as a principal.
Well, can't be her character from the first one, because I don't know if you know this, but she kind of dead.
It's kind of hard to forget. It's really hard to forget. there was a character in this movie named Wes, who is the son of Sheriff Hicks, who was thrown in as an obvious tribute to Wes Craven.
That reminds me, Billy Loomis. Billy Loomis. Am I the only one who thinks that his last name is a reference to Dr. Loomis from Halloween?
It's gotta be. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it is.
And I'm pretty sure there's a character named Sam Loomis in Psycho.
There is.
Yeah.
There is a character named Sam Loomis in Psycho, which I think John Carpenter named Donald Pleasance's character Sam Loomis's tribute to that character, so it kind of evens itself out.
I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis is the daughter of the star who. Okay, what was her name?
Janet Leigh.
Was the one.
Janet Leigh.
Yeah. She got stabbed in the shower.
Yeah. Only for Janet Leigh to have a small part in Halloween H2O years later.
That was right before she passed away.
Oh, yeah. And she was driving the exact same car from Psycho, too.
References, man. Every movie has them.
Yeah. I must say, I had heard, but I had heard a rumor, but I didn't realize for sure if it was the case or not that James A. Janice and Chelsea Rebecca from Dead Meat had a cameo in this movie, but yeah, they do.
I fucking knew that was them.
Along with a confirmation from there's a scene where a character's watching a YouTube video about Stab 8. I think it is the video that has the Dead Meat people on them. But there's a thumbnail for a recommended video, and it's a photo of Hayden Panettiere as Kirby from Scream 4, apparently confirming that she survived being stabbed by Rory Culkin.
Yeah, there was a hint towards that, yeah, but I don't remember seeing it. No.
I wasn't really paying attention to the thumbnail. I was busy being like, "Oh hey, there's James A. Janice from Dead Meat."
Yeah.
As I'm watching this movie, one thing kept popping up in my head was how many times are we going to find an excuse to jump back to the original movie? Because now we've got 3 movies that have somehow tied back to the first one. You know, your first Scream 1, the killer is Billy Loomis and Shaggy. Scream 2, it's friggin' Agent 47 before he was Agent 47 and Billy Loomis's mother. Scream 3, Sidney Prescott's illegitimate half-brother who apparently influenced Billy Loomis and Stu Macher into committing murder. Scream 4, I think, was the only one that didn't try to tie anything directly to the original because Sidney's kid cousin was just jealous about her being the one that's the most famous.
Yeah.
And then we have this one where the main character is Billy Loomis's daughter. I'm still every bit in love with the blending of slasher and whodunit with this movie as I was with all the other ones. Even if you can sort of kinda maybe see who the killer is from a mile away.
Yeah.
Which the other movies kind of threw the other movies generally had a pretty good way of throwing red herrings out here and there, like could it be Billy, could it be Stu, could it be Randy? You know, you didn't quite know who was trustworthy and who wasn't. And that was kind of the same way for the sequels.
I mean, Billy Loomis kind of gave himself away when the cell phone dropped out of his pocket.
Yeah, I mean, it was the late 90s, and Your
Also,
average high school teenager wasn't it? I don't think your average high schooler typically had a cell phone in the late 90s.
yeah. Also, I want to know who the fuck dials 911 on their computer. No one did that in that. No one.
I've never heard of calling 911 with a computer until 911 have a website call center now?
You saw that shit too, right?
Yes! I still love when scary movies spoof that. It's like, 911, what's your emergency? White woman in trouble! Send in the National Guard! Yeah, they had some pretty creative kills in this one. I mean, you can only get so creative with a knife.
I mean, look at Michael Myers. He literally stabbed someone with a gun in Halloween 4.
Oh, God. Yes. I was just watching that not too long ago.
Or was it 5?
It was 4.
Okay, because I kind of mix up the two. I mix up 4 and 5 sometimes. Like 4 had that bullshit cliffhanger ending, which they decided to completely throw away in Halloween 5.
Halloween 5 was a clusterfuck and a half.
Look at Halloween 6.
Well, Halloween 6 was a victim of studio interference because it was produced by Dimension Films, which was a subsidiary of the Weinstein Company.
Well, the Weinstein brothers suck.
Ass. Through a coffee stirrer.
You suck ass, Rick. You really do.
Well, on the upside, they're no longer producing movies anymore.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me if the story is they went frickin' bankrupt.
They did. They filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2018, and all their shit got sold off.
Was one of those things Halloween to Blumhouse?
I believe so, yeah. Which, I'm just gonna say, the initial rumors that Blumhouse was going to be doing Scream 5, I was kind of psyched for because I liked how they handled Halloween. The fact that it's not being that this movie wasn't produced by Blumhouse kind of works in its favor because now we don't have to say, well, every horror movie nowadays is either being made by Blumhouse or Shudder or nobody the fuck else.
Right.
You know, save some horror for some other people, fucking.
Right. Like, there's always that one, like recently, it seems like Xbox is buying literally everything, you know?
Oh god, yeah. Xbox has... I'm pretty much convinced Microsoft has purchased the planet.
I mean, it is Bill Gates, quote-unquote, the richest person on the planet. It's like, wonder why he got divorced. Like, thank
God Paramount found guys who actually have some experience in horror, even if they're not even if their resume isn't the most extensive. I mean, Bettinelli Olpin, he directed a segment for VHS, of course, Devil's Due, Ready or Not. And Devil's Due and Ready or Not both did relatively well. And it looks like Tyler Gillette also directed a segment for VHS. So, I mean... Yeah, I'm looking at the budget to box office for Devil's Due and Ready or Not, and pretty sizable return on investment. Devil's Due made about $37 million on a $7 million budget, so that's pretty good. Ready or Not did $58 million on a $6 million budget. And right now, Scream is looking at $57 million on a $24 million budget in its second weekend so far. Well, it's just starting weekend 2. We'll see what the numbers are by the end, by Sunday night. There's been... I appreciate a lot of the references and Easter eggs that are thrown out throughout the movie. It's going to be fun watching the videos that break down that break down every single reference and Easter egg throughout the runtime. A finale in Stu's old house. That was one I wasn't expecting.
Honestly, I kind of sort of expected something like that, just not in that house.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, like, it kind of, that felt like it, maybe they could have had the ending in Sydney's old house. You know, that probably would have been, because that was the first place where she was attacked by Ghostface, so it would have been a nice, I won't say bookend, because Neve Campbell has said that she and the producers are talking about making another Scream movie, which I don't know I don't know how they're going to do that without Dewey. You know, they off the best character in all of these movies. They off Dewey.
I know.
Yeah.
Rest.
Yeah.
But I couldn't cry in the theater because I get thrown out.
Yeah, that was some
Shit!
And here's the thing about these soft reboots. At least one legacy character always ends up dead in them. I mean, or these belated sequels, at least one character from the previous movies is going to end up dead at some point. We saw that happen to Han Solo in The Force Awakens, and I still say that he did not go out the way he deserved to go out. He deserved to go out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, we all.
Not a cheap gut punch to kickstart the third act. You know, because fuck you, J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, we also saw the same thing happen to Tommy Doyle on Halloween Kills.
Yeah, but Tommy Doyle's death in Halloween Kills, you kind of saw once Michael got back up and started taking out that whole mob, you kind of saw Tommy going down along with the rest of them. I mean, he already killed Sheriff Brackett by that point.
Yeah, with a throat slit, I think.
Yeah. Do you think there is enough material? There was enough left over to make a possible sixth movie?
I mean, without Dewey, the next movie is just gonna flop just like that if there's no Dewey.
I don't know if it would necessarily flop, but I know there's going to be a lot of unhappy Dewey fans. I mean, there were a lot of unhappy Dewey fans walking out of the theater after the movie finished. I know, because my mother and I were among them.
Rightfully so. I was pissed off. I was literally stomping out of the theater, and some random guy said, "Hey man, chill," and I told him, "Hey, you shut your face."
Dude, not Dewey. My mom kept saying it should have been Gale.
It should have been Gale.
I mean, she's not wrong.
She's been a pain in the asshole since the first Scream.
Pretty much.
I mean, when Sydney slapped the shit out of her in Scream 2, she had that coming.
Yeah. When Sydney knocked her lights out in Scream 1, she had it coming.
And Dewey also had some words to say to her in Scream 2, like, page 40-something, Dewey oozed of unprofessionalism.
Well, like, Deputy Dewey filled the room with his Barney Fife-ish energy.
He was still lovable, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, but so is Barney Fife. I'm just curious as to how. I mean, the thing about Scream is, as we brought this up earlier, the killer could literally be anyone. So
you can never trust nobody in these movies.
Pretty much, you can.
Like I said, that shit's psychological. That shit can like make you all kinds of paranoids where you literally just lock yourself in your house.
I mean, Sydney was living by herself in the middle of fucking nowhere in the California mountains in Scream 3.
Can you blame her though?
Not really. And living under a fake name too. So, I mean, they could keep this if they tried. They could really keep this series going. But of course, we're talking contemporary Hollywood, so trying is not exactly in their. They're not exactly they're not exactly hard pressed for exerting effort. So I think
are we done? Are we done with the Scream discussion, or are we still gotta like film something for that?
I think we're good.
I don't have to go yet. I was just curious.
No, you're fine. I've already got like 90 minutes of stuff to edit. But I think our next discussion, I'm trying to figure out if it's going to be, because you haven't played Uncharted, so I don't think that would make for a good discussion video.
You've seen enough of the gameplay.
I think it would probably be better off if we were to do the Batman next.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun one to talk about.
I've been waiting for it since it was announced in sometime in 2019, and then there was that trailer in August of 2020, and it was supposed to come out last year, but obviously that didn't happen.
Yeah, which is probably for the best that they pushed it back. But
a lot of movies got pushed back.
Yeah. Some of them are ones I actually want to see. But if you're still with us, thanks for watching, and we'll be back in March with the Batman. So take care.